Lilo for boxing. Shout out to the LDBC. Shout out to Marlowe's Corner, Trey X, and the Old Block fam. Hey, so I want to talk about Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz rematch coming up in Saudi Arabia. I think the date's December 7th. You know, one thing I've been noticing is the more and more that Anthony Joshua talks, the more and more ridiculous he sounds. He sounds disillusioned, you know what I'm saying? He just sounds like he's out of touch with reality. You know, his whole comment a couple weeks back when he was interviewing with the young lady in that gym, I forget what her name was, but anyway, she asked him, you know, she said something about Ruiz, you know, beating him or whatever, and AJ said, well, he hit me with a punch, a lucky punch sent from the gods. And I mean, AJ said that with a straight face, like he really and truly believed what he was saying, as if, you know, the only reason he lost that fight is because he just got caught with a lucky punch. You know, that there was no skill deficit, there was no tactical issues, or no, you know, game plan or strategy, you know, issues to work on, or that could have gone differently. That, you know, everything was A-okay until he got caught with a lucky punch. I mean, that's his assessment on why he lost that fight. And I made videos before saying that, you know, as long as AJ doesn't realize why he lost that fight, he doesn't stand a chance. He only has a puncher's chance at winning a rematch. And I don't think AJ will ever understand why he lost that fight. I think AJ and his delusions of grandeur won't allow him to understand why he lost that fight. Okay? That said, when it comes to another excuse that he made, he talked about, you know, the fact that he was looking forward to a Wilder Fury fight, and he didn't really want to fight Andy Ruiz. No, AJ, you were looking forward to a Big Baby Miller fight, because that's who you guys wanted to fight all along, and had been basically setting the table for that fight for a couple, you know, for about a year, over a year. And yeah, Big Baby Miller popped dirty, and they thought they were taking a step down facing Andy Ruiz, and they actually was taking a step up. You know, so and it didn't work out for him. You know, so you know, but the reality is that Fury fight was there to be made if they really wanted it. The Wilder fight was there to be made if they really wanted it. You know, I remember back when Eddie Hearn was actually doing interviews saying, yeah, I know that Wilder side wants to fight right now, but, you know, we want to fight, but we may not necessarily want to fight right now. And basically, you know, he was saying it from a business standpoint, that it made sense to wait on the fight. You know, I also remember him saying that, yeah, the fight's there to be made, but can we squeeze in 1 to 2 more no-risk fights? Not low risk. He used the term no-risk fights. Could he squeeze in 2 more no-risk fights before the Wilder fight? And that's basically what kept being the theme. It was, let's get in 1 more. Let's get in 1 more. Let's get in 1 more. The Wilder fight's going to be there. You know, so it's like, let's make as much money as we can before we have to face Wilder and could potentially get knocked out and don't know what's going to happen to AJ's value once that happens. So let's get as much as we can out of these other fights in the interim. And that's basically what the strategy was, until they took 1 fight too many against the wrong person. And Andy Ruiz, you know what I'm saying, basically derailed the Anthony Joshua Express. Okay? The last thing I'm going to touch on is they also talked about basically saying that, you know, Anthony Joshua lost his passion. And AJ himself said something about, well, I was obsessed with becoming undisputed, and then I started to think, well, what after undisputed? What comes after that? What am I going to do after that? I have nothing to work toward. And you know, the reality is AJ's saying that today, but AJ's always said he wants to have a long reign like Klitschko. You know, he wanted to pattern his career after Klitschko, after Vladimir Klitschko had his long reign as heavyweight champion. So even that, what would I do after Undisputed thing doesn't hold weight. If you guys remember, Vlad never was really on this quest for Undisputed because Vitaly had the WBC belt. And it wasn't until Romain Stavern got the belt that Vlad was trying to become Undisputed. But at that time, he had already had about 16 or so title defenses in his second reign. He also, Vlad also, you know, had an opportunity to face Deontay Wilder when Deontay Wilder was WBC champ, but said, you know, basically Wilder needed to do more. They need to see Wilder fight other people. The fans need to see Wilder fight other people. So Vlad really wasn't that big on Undisputed, or he would have took a shot at it. But AJ was all about having that long reign. You know, wanted to have a bunch of title defenses and so forth and so on. And had he been successful at becoming Undisputed, he still would have had the opportunity to have a long reign, to have a Vladimir Klitschko-esque type career. Of course, he didn't want to have the setbacks that Vladimir had on the way up. You know, the knockout losses to, you know, 3 different fighters. I think it was Ross Purity, Corey Sanders, and Layman Brewster. You know, so of course, you know, AJ didn't want to have those, you know, those type losses on his record. Well, now he has a loss to Andy Ruiz. So, in that regard, you know, he's keeping with the pattern of being Vlad-like. Except I do believe, you know, a couple of those losses, Vlad was a little earlier. Well, I can't really say that because, I mean, Vlad at one point fought like 8 or 9 times in the same year, so I can't say that he didn't have that many fights under his belt because, I mean, he wasn't as accomplished. He wasn't a multi-sanctioning body champion when he took those losses, but at the same time, he was a champion during at least one of those. I know he was a champion when he lost to Layman Brewster, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he was a champion yet when he lost to Ross Purity, and I'm unsure about the Corey Sanders loss. But at the end of the day, my whole point is that almost every excuse AJ had for why he lost that fight, he's just grasping at straws. They don't hold weight. He's just making excuses and just refused to give Andy Ruiz credit, although he gave Andy Ruiz credit initially when he first beat him. But then ever since then, ever since AJ came out of hiding, it's been one excuse after another as to why he lost to Andy Ruiz. So I'm just going to close in saying AJ may as well have several more excuses warming up in the dugout, getting ready to put in the game, because he's very likely he's going to lose to Andy Ruiz again, and he can go ahead and flood the market, flood the internet with a laundry list of other excuses to try to explain why he lost to Andy Ruiz twice and how he's going to come back from that. But this is D-Lo 404 Boxing. Once again, shout out to the mighty LDBC. I'm out. Peace.